UFC 317 took place this weekend, and I'm going to be recapping every single fight on the card, giving my thoughts and breakdowns. Yes, I know what happened yesterday, and I'm late to this. Yeah, that's just what I do. I'm just that guy. This is what he does. Anyway, these are the 11 fights that took place on the card, because we can't have any more than 12 fights on a pay-per-view anymore for some reason. We used to get 14. Now we have 12. This is the UFC in Big 2025, by the way. Let's start off with the early prelim opener of Deniz versus Hins. I thought Deniz would walk through him. He didn't. Hins actually showed decent boxing in round number one. Granted, that all went out the window in round number two because unranked heavyweight fights are probably the worst quality fight on the roster, besides women's bantamweight, because women's bantamweight is basically just the same as heavyweight, except the fact they have less power and less of a chance of just knocking them out. You know what I mean? But I mean, heavyweights are also morbidly obese, so there's an argument there. What was I saying? Oh yeah, Hins looked all right. He was actually picking up some steam in the third round on Deniz, because Deniz started to gas out a little bit, and then he poked him in the eye, so he got a solid minute of rest, and then came out. If he didn't get that minute of rest from an eye poke, obviously I know it's not Deniz's fault that he got poked in the eye, but if he didn't have that minute rest of from getting poked in the eye, Hins probably would have put the pressure on him and could have got a TKO finish. You never know. He didn't have any pop in his shots after round number one, but I'm just going to hold my hands up and say it could have happened. Good win for Deniz, I guess. It's not. It's not a good win at all. He showed that he only has a left hook on the feet, which sucks. Justin Tarfer would have stiffed him out cold. I don't know. This was going to be on the main card. If it was Justin Tarfer, it would have been on the main card, which is crazy. Crazy. He's got some sort of main card bonus inside his contract. Anyway, moving on. Nico Price versus Jacob Smith. Jacob Smith wins this fight as the biggest favorite in UFC history at a 20-1 favorite. I think it's 20. Is it 20-1 favorite? 21-1 favorite? I don't know. But he went as the biggest favorite in UFC history. So anything other than a KO within the third minute or before the third minute would be underperforming for Jacob Smith, which this fight took 9 minutes to get done. Now, obviously, which we can't be too harsh on Jacob Smith because it's Nico Price. He's a crafty vet. He's going to have stuff that Jacob Smith has never dealt with before in his life. He's somewhat difficult to finish, is he? Is Jacob Smith difficult to finish? Not Jacob Smith, Nico Price. Is Nico Price difficult to finish? Let's have a look. I mean, Lawler put him out within a minute. Hassan put him out within a minute. Yeah, that's pretty much the only time he's been finished in round number one. So I don't know. We can't really be too harsh on Jacob Smith because it is a vet in Nico Price, but he did underperform for the expectations that were there for him. Round number one, just ground and pound from Jacob Smith. Pretty much it. Got a takedown and landed ground and pound. Pretty much it for the entire round. Price kept trying to defend with an armbar or threatening an armbar, but he never really got anywhere near getting the armbar. There was one time where he kind of had Jacob Smith's arm tied up with his leg. But realistically, I think a pissed out of his mind, drunk Jacob Smith probably would have got out of that submission. So that was round one. Round two, Jacob Smith just rid him for the entire round and got to the back and submitted him. So, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a good performance from Jacob Smith. He didn't lose. He didn't take him to a decision, but underperformed. We'll say that at the very least. Moving on. Terrence McKinney versus Vishlav Borshev. Now, I thought McKinney, he's not the smartest fighter. I think he'll just run out there and try and stand with Borshev for a minute before getting knocked out cold or knocking Borshev out cold. No, McKinney used the grappling because he identified the fact that Borshev does not have a clue what he's doing on the ground. Took him down, cinched up an anaconda straight away. He took him down. Seconds later, he's got the anaconda in. Borshev defended it pretty well. He tried rolling, so shut up. I've got a dog. I've got a dog barking, bro. If my mic's picking that up, I'm gonna. That dog. Actually, I'm not gonna say anything because it's not. I'm not gonna threaten a dog, am I? I'm a fully grown man threatening a dog. What am I doing? Okay, I'm shutting my window. Jeez, fully grown man threatening a dog. Is this what my life has come to while making MMA videos on the internet? Jeez. Anyway, so McKinney cinches up an anaconda straight away. Borshev rolls, so McKinney chains it to a... Hang on, let me restart. Borshev rolls onto his front, so McKinney doesn't really have the anaconda as tight. You can get a north-south choke, you can try and chain that, but instead he tried to move to mount, which is probably the best move. because if you fail the submission, you then get mount in round 30 seconds into round 1, you're in mount. You know what I mean? So McKinney gets he gets a guillotine, mounted guillotine, and starts cranking on it. Borshev does not want to tap. If he taps, he gets cut from the UFC. He tapped, but he knows straight up, if I lose this fight, I'm probably getting cut. So he's fighting it, bro. He's fighting it. He's cycling his legs like a bicycle. You know that Marab clip where he sat in the guillotine for a full minute cycling his legs. Borshev tries doing that, can't do it. He has to tap eventually. His entire head is turning red. He's starting to look like the real life Santa Claus. And he taps eventually within a minute of Terrence McKinney, or the fight starting, basically. Good win for Terrence McKinney. I think he can now put himself, put some wins together. Is that what win streak he's on? Is it on 2 win streaks or just 1? He's on a 2-fight win streak after he lost to Estan Ribovic in round 1. Yeah, good win for Terrence McKinney. Good submission. I'd like to see him back in there again soon. Didn't really take a lot of damage, so good win for Terrence McKinney. Moving on to the best fight on the card. Fight of the night, in my opinion, Araujo versus Cortez. I didn't watch this fight live. I'm going to be real. I finished watching the McKinney-Borshev fight. I looked what's next on the cards, and I go, okay, I'm going to go preheat my oven so I can put my pizza in. One of those frozen pizzas that you can put into the oven. So I go preheat my oven. I come back. They're not out yet, so I go for a shit break. I go put my pizza in. I watch my pizza, make sure it's not burnt. So my house goes up in a pile of flames, and I have to evacuate the premises before Ilia Topuria versus Charles Olivera starts, and I missed the main event because my house is on fire. But so I watch my pizza. I get my pizza. It's all out. Ooh, my pizza's out. I go and eat my pizza. I've had my shit break. I've gone outside. It's about 1 a.m. encroaching on 2 a.m. at this point. I come back for the third and final round of Vivian Araujo versus Tracy Cortez, and it was terrible. Cortez looked, she looked improved. She looked better. She did some sort of speech about ice at the end, I think. I'm going to be honest, I don't speak Mexican, but that's what I think it's about. Not Mexican, they speak Spanish, don't they? Doesn't matter. It's culture appropriation. Doesn't matter. I rewatched the fight in 4x speed, and I almost fell asleep. 3-0 Cortez, in my opinion. Got it down. She got the takedowns, got decent ground and pound. Did better on the feet. That's about it, to be honest. Moving on. Amir versus Jose Delgado. This was a bit of a weird stoppage. And speaking about weird stoppages, the next fight on the card is Hermansson versus Rodriguez. And we'll get into that one in a second because that was a little bit scary and it pissed me off. However, with this fight, I thought Amir would, if he applies the pressure on Jose Delgado, who will be able to, prevent the knockout threat of Delgado. 30 seconds. This fight lasted 30 seconds. I thought it was longer than that. Jeez. Amir came out swinging. And then Delgado basically hits him for 1-2 and then closes the gap, gets to a clinch and hits him with a knee down the middle, which puts Amir down and drops him. Delgado then jumps onto his guard, hits him with 2 big elbows before Mark Goddard steps in. Now, the weird part of the stoppage was Amir's back up to his feet straight away. He's up, he's going, why are we stopping the fight? What are we doing? The reason why Amir was back up to his feet so quickly was because the guy who was giving ground and pound on him was pushed off. If Delgado doesn't get pushed off, he lands 3 or 4 more big elbows on Amir before Amir's a bloody mess on the canvas. You know what I mean? So the only reason why Amir got up so quickly is because the guy actively holding him down and hitting him in the head was pushed off him. So good stoppage in my opinion. Looked a little bit weird in real time, but when you watch it back, you go, okay, that was a good stoppage. Good job, Mark Goddard. Top 3 referee of all time. Is what Joe Rogan keeps saying. Now, Joe Rogan kind of pissed me off to the card, and we'll get onto the Peyton Talbot fight in a second, but Joe Rogan always says top 3 ref of all time. Nick Smith, top 3 ref of all time. Big John McCarthy, top 3 ref of all time. Mark Goddard, Herb Dean, top 3 refs of all time. If every single referee you see is a top 3 ref of all time, they're not a top 3 ref because they all can't be top 3, can they? It doesn't physically make any sense. It doesn't make mathematical sense how 7 different referees can all be top 3 in your book. You know what I mean? Unless they're all just changing into the next time they referee a fight, they just move into the top 3, like some sort of pound for pound system. Anyway, that's a little side rant on Joe Rogan. We're going to have a few of them today. Moving on. He actually didn't even have that bad of a pay-per-view, to be honest. But Jack Hermansson versus Gregory Rodriguez. So Hermansson was actually doing pretty well as well before he got sparked out cold. Rodriguez was kind of stinging him, but Hermansson was rolling with it. He was keeping his head off the center line. No, he wasn't. He was moving his head a little bit. Wasn't really off the center line, but he was moving backwards. He was circling out of exchanges after blitzing forward. He was doing pretty good. Rodriguez loads up in a left hook and puts him out cold. Hermansson's out. There's no question about Hermansson being out. His lifeless corpse flops to the canvas, smacks the back of his head against the canvas. Plop, Hermansson's out cold. Rodriguez then looks at him, plods forwards towards him and hits him with a hammer fist. Why? We don't need a follow-up shot. He's out cold. He's 37 years old and he has kids. Why? What are we doing? Herb Dean, step in, brother. Herb Dean, top 3 referee of all time. Step in, bro. What are we doing? Why are we 10 feet away? Why do we have to complete a 100-meter dash before you get to the fight? What are we cooking here? You know what I mean? Because this pissed me off as well. Because imagine if we have Josh Emmett. Imagine if Josh Emmett followed up on Bryce Mitchell. Imagine that. Because I know some people don't like Bryce Mitchell. If Josh Emmett followed up on Bryce Mitchell's dead. You know what I mean? He's dead. We're going to get our first death in the UFC octagon via ground and pound. That's how I believe. That's how I think it's going to happen. Because imagine if Josh Emmett followed up on Bryce Mitchell. Imagine being Bryce Mitchell's son watching from Arkansas, seeing your dad lifeless on the floor on the fucking Prime logo. On the Prime logo. He's dead. You died on the Prime logo. On Sky Bets. No, not Sky Bets. What do they use? DraftKings. They use DraftKings Bets. DraftKings Sportbook. Advert on the floor. You're just dead on the floor. On the fucking logo. You know what I mean? Horrible way to go. And it's unneeded. Unneeded ground and pound. We don't need that. If Herb Dean can just get a little bit closer to the fight, so Jack Hermansson isn't getting a severe concussive blow after already being knocked out and smacking his head against the back of the canvas. I'm just saying, that really grinded my gears and pissed me off. Similarly to this fight here, Peyton Tabo versus Felipe Lima. I don't like Peyton Tabo. I've got my personal reasons. I've said that before. I thought Lima would win this fight. He didn't win this fight. I thought we'd be doing better on the ground. He actually did pretty well on the feet, to be fair, Lima. But Joe Rogan, you would think Joe Rogan would be having a 3-way with Peyton Tabo and Frank Ocean with how much he was sucking him off in this fight. Okay, that's a joke, by the way, just in case anyone takes it the wrong way. Okay, here's what Joe Rogan was doing. Here's the best analogy I've got to describe it. Imagine reacting to a fighter landing anything at all. They land a jab, a cross, and then imagine putting an extra 10% of steam on that. Of over-exaggerating how much he hit. So let's say I go, oh, good jab there by Topuria. Joe Rogan would put an extra 10% on that for Peyton Tabo specifically. Going, ow! He doesn't want to stand with him. The power is too much. Peyton Tabo didn't land anything on the feet. I'm going to be honest, watching this fight, I thought Lima's the better fighter on the feet. Yeah, Peyton Tabo can finish it, but he didn't look that powerful. You know what I mean? He didn't look that powerful on the feet. That, I'm thinking, ooh, you got to watch out for it. You got to watch out. Lima, you better watch your chin. Rogan was sucking him off with the amount of commentary I've been hearing. And here's another thing. Most of the hype around Peyton Tabo comes from Joe Rogan directly. I'm just saying, maybe there's something going on behind the scenes. Maybe, Joe Rogan gets a slight cut of Tabo's win bonuses if, Joe Rogan works him up and gets him the better matchup. You know what I mean? Joe Rogan's his fucking agent, it seems. Round number 1, Lima was doing very well on the feet. I'm going to be honest. Tabo showed improved takedown defense. Very well improved, to be fair, for Tabo. I know I don't like him, but he improved a lot. Round number 2, Tabo clearly won, in my opinion. Reversed every takedown, got good ground and pound. Round 3, Joe Rogan is still... Joe Rogan also scored this fight as well, by the way. There's a reason we don't allow commentary members to actively score rounds, unless it's a dominant round. So, we obviously allow them to speculate. So John Anik will come along and say, oh, he could have stolen it at the end of the round, with Joshua Van versus Brandon Royval. You know what I mean? John Anik said he stole it at the end of the round tonight. John Anik said at the end of the Joshua Van versus Royval fight, Joshua Van could have stolen the round here because he dropped him at the end of the round. So I agree with that. We can allow them to speculate. We can't have Joe Rogan, who's a trustworthy face in the sport, and people agree with, actively scoring the rounds. The fight finishes, and Joe Rogan's like, I think Payton won that 2-1. First things first, why are we on a first name basis? Why are we calling him Payton? Call him Tabot like the rest of us, okay? Secondly, don't openly score rounds and say, this is how I think the fight went. Because if you get it wrong, which he has got it wrong before, there's a lot of people who are going to be influenced by you and will, like the casual fan base, basically. The casual fan base will be influenced by what Joe Rogan says. If Joe Rogan says, I think Lima won this fight 2-1, and then makes some argument for round 3, the casuals will go, that makes sense. I agree with that. And then Tabot wins, and they go, what? That's not right. Robbery! And they shout robbery. So you can't actively score rounds. You can say your opinion. You can suggest to certain things. Just don't openly score the rounds and tell us what you think. It's part of Joe Rogan's commentary, and obviously this goes beyond the same leg kicks and steel cups we're used to, but sorry, I took a sip of water. But I mean, he's not very good on the commentary desk. He is a staple though, and he's very good at interviewing fighters. So we'll let him off. Moving on. Beneil Dariush versus Money Moik. Moik dropped him in round number 1, won round number 1. Granted, Beneil Dariush was catching Moicano, and Moicano looked very shit in this fight, I'm going to be honest. Beneil was catching him. He was landing good kicks on Renato Moicano the entire fight. Round 2, Beneil Dariush just kind of lay on Moicano the entire time. Good offensive grappling from Beneil Dariush. Round number 3, Moicano looked gassed. He didn't really throw anything. My notes here was Moik gasses, fuck, I hate this sport. So that was what I was thinking. Round 3, Moicano versus Beneil Dariush. I think Beneil won the last 2 rounds, and Moicano took round number 1 by dropping him with a right hand. So slip right hand drops Beneil Dariush for Moicano. Fumbles the finish. We go into round number 2. Beneil holds him down for the entire round. We go into round number 3, and Moicano doesn't throw anything. I think he threw like 5 strikes the entire round. So fuck, I hate this sport it's just exactly, that's how I feel about this fight. You know, I hate this sport sometimes, and I love it other times. And I love it when Joshua Van wins. I said Joshua Van would win this fight. I said he would do better in the boxing exchanges, in the pocket. And also because I'm not picking against Joshua Van. I think Joshua Van beats Pantoja. Why? Because he's just Joshua Van, bro. Pantoja's never fought Joshua Van before. I love this guy, man. So Royval threw out a lot of volume in this fight. He was open every single significant strike number, but Joshua Van was landing the more devastating shots. Like when Joshua Van would blitz in, you would go, ooh, ah, ooh, yeah. You know what I mean? Like when he would land strikes, you would hear the strikes land and see the reaction from Royval. I think Joshua Van won round number 1 by just exploding forwards, being patient, exploding forwards, landing good 1-2s, 4-punch combinations. Royval comes out of a lot of volume, but he was missing a lot as well. So he attempted about 70 significant strikes. He landed 20 of them. So Joshua Van attempted about 30. He landed 25. So, very different in their fight styles. Round number 2, very amazing fight. Amazing fight. Top flyweight fight of all time. Not the best, but one of the best of all time. Fight of the year so far. Royval has a lot of volume, good head movement. Van's getting caught a little bit with the rangy strikes of Royval. Granted, there's not a lot of steam behind them, not a lot of pop in his shot. Joshua Van is kind of getting caught though at range. So what Joshua Van would do is he would explode forward, he'll sit in the pocket. But as he exits out of the pocket, he didn't create enough distance. So he's still getting popped by the kicks and the jabs from Royval. So Royval would throw like a 1-2-3 and catch Van with all 3 strikes. As Van would just not be far enough away from Royval. He wouldn't be out the distance of Royval. We go into round number 3. I think Van won the round but it was close. Up until round 3. Up until like the last 30 seconds of the fight. Van drops him late and steals the round. I'm on my feet. I'm shouting. It is about 3 a.m. UK time. Is it 3 a.m. UK time? No, it's main card, isn't it? So what time is it? It'll be about 4 a.m., about 4:30 in the morning. I'm shouting. You know what I mean? I'm probably waking half my neighborhood up at the same time. I'm shouting. Number one contender, Joshua Van. He's fighting for the title next. I love this guy, man. I think he beats Pantoja. Oh, sorry. That was horrible. Give me a second. I think he beats Pantoja because Pantoja's boxing and his defense is pretty, it's pretty weird. It's not the strongest from what I've seen anyway. From what I've identified from Pantoja's game. Obviously, he's improved a lot, and also Joshua Van does have good takedown defense. He's only been training for 5 years though, and he's 23, but he does have very good takedown defense, and we saw that against Tatsuro or Ritash. Bro, I cannot pronounce his name. He's the Japanese guy that Van fought, I think 2 fights ago. The one before the Bruno Silva fight, what's his name? Ray Tashura. So he showed very good takedown defense in that fight, and Ray Tashura is a pure grappler, and he's a prospect, pure grappler. So I think Joshua Van, if he can stuff the takedowns of Alejandro Pantoja and work his way back to his feet, I think he pieces him up on the feet across the course of 5 rounds. So yeah, I think Joshua Van's going to be next for the UFC flyweight championship. I think he's going to win it. Moving on. Speaking of Pantoja, Alejandro Pantoja versus Kai Kara-France. Oof. Pantoja clearly wins this. I mean, Kai Kara-France didn't look at all good on the feet, to be honest. I mean, Pantoja, in round 2, Pantoja was bulldozing him over. You know what I mean? So Pantoja gets the takedown early, gets the back, holds him from back for about 2 minutes straight, gets into mount, tries to get an arm triangle, but he's on the wrong side. And then he gets it. He locks it in. The shoulder of Kai Kara-France is kind of in the way because his arm was bent. So it's kind of like preventing the, choke from being fully in and his shoulder from being against the carotid artery. But, where else are we at? Yeah, so mainly control that round. Not a lot of damage. If his name was Chimaev, it would be a 10-8, but it doesn't really matter. Round 2, Pantoja's, it's pretty even on the feet. I don't really see any advantage from Kai Kara-France on the feet. And then Pantoja just bulldozes him over. He runs at him, lands a kick, and then just brings him down. Commentary saying Pantoja's slowing down. I don't know what evidence they have to suggest that he's slowing down. The entire of the first round was just strictly grappling. So I don't know what evidence they have to suggest that Pantoja was slowing down. Pantoja landed better on the feet, controlled him on the ground, 10-9 Pantoja. So he's up 2 rounds to none. Round 3, Pantoja gets him down and he gets the back. And now what I really like from Pantoja here, what he did, he used a body lock, 2-on-1 hand wrist control to try and get Kai Kara-France to basically try and relieve his hand. So what he had was, he had one of his hands, I think it was his right hand on his left wrist, and he had his left hand on the wrist of Kai Kara-France getting wrist control. So what Kai Kara-France had to do was he had to use one of his hands to free the other hand. And as Kai Kara-France went to free his hands, Pantoja let go, got a double underhook straight away and a body lock from that position. So in about 1 second, he's got underhooks and a body lock just from one singular move. Very, very good. And then sticks in the rear naked choking. Fair enough to Kai Kara-France for trying to fight it. He was fighting with all his life to try and stop that, to not tap from that rear naked choke, which is what we want to see. We want to see you trying to fight out of it. Pantoja just locks it in, pulls it. Unfortunate for Kai Kara-France, but good win for Alejandro Pantoja. He's closing down the difference between him and Demetrius Johnson on the greatest flyweight of all time. So I don't know, man. He's closing the distance. I think if he beats Joshua Van and maybe who else even is there a flyweight? Maybe if Tatsuro Taira gets a win over, who's he fighting? Albazi. So either Albazi or Tatsuro Taira, I think that probably makes him the GOAT of the flyweight division. So, you know what I'm saying? For Alejandro Pantoja gets 5 title defenses. Jeez. Anyway, moving on to the main event. Ilia Abtoro versus Charles do Bronx Olivera. I said round 2 KO for Ilia. He got him out in round number 1, and he still impressed me. So I was expecting Ilia to knock him out cold. He impressed me with how well he did it. Now, they started off very quickly with a high volume straight away. High volume. Olivera's piecing him up, but not piecing him up. He's catching him a few times. He caught him with an uppercut, and he was catching him with a jab sometimes. But Ilia Topuria was finding his jab straight away against a guy who was longer and taller and bigger and lankier than him. He found his jab straight away. Found his jab. Charles Oliveira gets double underhooks against the cage. Tries to take him down, and Topuria reverses onto top position because he's got the best hit position in the game. Topuria then... He's now on top position against Charles Oliveira in his guard. He then progresses. This is like 0 to 60 miles per hour to side control into crucifix. He put Charles Oliveira into crucifix. Held him there for about a minute. Tries to get back up to it. Not for a minute, but he held him there for a second or two. About 5 seconds. Tries to get back up to his feet. Oliveira tries to, cinch in a leg lock. Doesn't work. Nowhere near to even being in. Ilia Topuria wiggles out of it. Stands up. Charles Oliveira gets stood up. Mark Goddard, stand up. And then we begin the final exchange, basically. So, Topuria gets caught with an uppercut. And then he lands a jab. Pulls out a jab, pull. Back in with a jab. Then he lands a right hook and the open chin of Charles Oliveira. Chin wide open, hand by his waist. Right hook basically puts Charles Oliveira out cold. Left hook follows for good measure. Ilia follows him to the ground and pound. Oliveira's out cold on the floor. No one's ever done that to Charles Oliveira. He's been knocked out before. He's been dropped before. He's never been put out cold by one punch. Ilia Topuria is built different. His power translates to lightweight. He's the best fighter of all time, and he will go down as the GOAT of the sport. Not at the moment, but when he gets a few more wins and he beats Islam Makhachev and he stiffs all of them out cold inside the first round, he will go down as the greatest fighter of all time. Anyway, that's it for this video. This was my prediction rate. It's my 11th best card that I've done. I went 7-5. I mean, it's all right, I guess. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.